Ja, hallo zurück. Freue mich jetzt auf den nächsten Roundtable und würde bitten, die Teilnehmer freizuschalten. Wir sehen jetzt die Firma Voith mit BTG und gemeinschaftlich beschäftigen sie sich damit, wie sie das nächste Level der Digitalisierung einleiten. Und ich würde gerne an die Maria Frau Knauer, abgeben und Ihnen die Moderation für die nächste halbe Stunde überlassen.
Vielen Dank, das mache ich sehr gerne, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren. Ich freue mich, dass Sie hier bei diesem Roundtable dabei sind, mit dem Titel Voith with BTG, Leading the Next Level of Digitization. Und wie Sie vielleicht schon am englischsprachigen Titel vermuten, wir werden jetzt gleich auf Englisch wechseln, weil Dan uns nicht versteht, wenn wir auf Deutsch sprechen. Drum, yeah, I will now switch to English, and I'd like to welcome my colleagues Peter Eisen and Daniel Smith with me here on the digital roundtable, on the digital stage here. Peter is the Vice President, Digital Product Management at Voith Paper, and Dan is Business Director for Process Solutions at BTG. And together they will answer any questions I ask them for the next 30 minutes. And in order to ask questions that are really also of importance to you, I would really like to encourage you that you ask your questions that you have to the two of them. To be able to do so, you will need to end the full screen mode if you watch the video in full screen mode, and then you have on the right side an area where you can type in your questions in a chat window. In some cases, you have a blue sign that looks like like a talking sign where you have to click on first to be able to ask questions. I'd also like to encourage you to also ask questions in German if this you feel more comfortable with that, then I will simply translate them for you. Okay, so let's start with the first question to Peter. When I talk with customers or also with colleagues, they often express the feeling that digitization and also 4.0, Industry 4.0 is still more of a buzzword than reality. What can you say to that?
So, Maria, my answer is that it maybe has been a buzzword some while ago, but you know that we have started the Papermaking 4.0 initiative quite some years ago. We have 5 years anniversary this year, and in this time we took the chance to create a real portfolio that has tangible value for our customers. And one example of the portfolio is basically a product that we call on efficiency strengths. It balances the quality requirements of the paper now, we really can create tangible value related to saving fibers and saving starch, for example, by keeping the same high strength properties. And you see here the customer feedback from our Italian customer, Fetrigoni Group, Mr. Naldini, CEO of Fetrigoni Group, that with such a system, they could leverage a significant economic benefit, and this is even within a payback time within 1 year. So this is just one example of the paper machine. Another example that has maybe more relevance than ever is related to the stock preparation. It's all about reducing the loss of fibers in the stock preparation. So what we do here, we have a real-time real-time visualization of current fiber losses in the process, as you can see in the Sankey diagram on the left side. And we increased by this process transparency, the yield and the utilization of the fibers. And as you can see from a customer statement on the right bottom, Fernando Carocchino, Industrial Director, SAICA, they save more than 600 tons of fibers every month. And this is really a lot of money at the end of the day. I think everybody can calculate. So that's why I clearly say it's no longer a buzzword, Maria.
So thanks, Peter. I think these are really interesting examples. They are both from packaging and graphic papers. You didn't say, but I know it. Is there also something about tissue that we have that we could show? Perhaps
yes, yes, sure. There's actually a lot of opportunities even at base level of automation. This is an example of doing loop performance analysis and tuning of PID loops at a tissue mill in the UK. And the problem they had was oscillation of the basic control loops in stock preparation and that variability flowing into the final paper qualities. And so we took an approach using our control suite loop performance monitoring and tuning solution, reduced the variability of the oscillations in stock prep. That enabled a shift in how the refining was operated, and we achieved a 4 kilowatt per hour ton specific energy savings. We're able to sustain these benefits with continued use of the software. There's a heat map that shows every loop in the process, and it's color-coded and size-coded to let you know the severity of the problem with the loop. And every day there's reports that come out identifying problematic loops, and these reports include actionable items to work on to improve. And the process engineer gave us a nice quote that you can see. The software and the application helped them find where these interactions and oscillations were coming from, and that led directly to savings.
So, and another proof that digitalization in 4.0 has really reached the paper industry and is really implemented already with really good results, I would say. So beyond those cases, Peter, what else can customers expect from Voith in the future?
But there's one highlight product that I want to mention in this round, and I'm really proud of this because when I started my career at Voith some years back, this was a real dream. We discussed it already at that time to make a paper break prediction, and now we even make a protection. So the next step, what do we do? So we really predict in real time the risk of a paper break, and along with this, we identify also the root causes that would lead to this paper break, and are able to define countermeasures. And by defining these countermeasures, we can then prevent a break, and by this again increase production or create the value for the paper production. And this is really a new release. It's also stated here on the top of the slide. We have now several customers with this product online, and we are happy to bring it to much more customers in the industry.
I have to say, this is also one of the products I think is really most exciting to see, and it has been tried for many years by many companies to do that, and it's great to see that it's now finally working. I've been fighting with it quite a long time. Another question, perhaps back to virtual sensors. We have seen them with on efficiency. You showed in the beginning as an example. Or no, sorry, I wanted to ask another question first. I realize there are paper mills that have very different levels of automation and the very different digital readiness, so to say. How do you deal with that? That's a question to you, Dan.
Thanks. Well, with the combination of BTG and Voith, we can offer digitization solutions across the entire range of operations and within any site. So if you think about the basic operation of the mill, well, there's control valves, control loops. We offer services and software to analyze the basic function plus process expertise. To do this analysis, you need access to data. With our combined offerings, we have state-of-the-art software tools for collecting data, historizing it, monitoring it, displaying it, either on-premise or through the cloud. We've seen some examples of predicting properties of paper. We have quite a number of applications online in closed-loop control where we're taking these numerical predictions using lab and instrument measurements as well to give minute-by-minute measurements, virtual measurements. And then those virtual measurements feed into advanced controls. Again, we have, through BTG and Voith, high-level advanced controls running from basically where the chips go into the digester all the way to the reel. And then if you're investing in these sorts of applications, you want to ensure that you reap the benefit of those investments year after year after year. And so through advancements in cloud applications, as well as on-site monitoring, we can help our customers sustain those benefits indefinitely. So there's really many places to step on to the digitization roadway.
I think that's a really important point to have, because a lot of customers are probably afraid they have to step in and do the full thing from the beginning. And you show that you can really step in at every point, and it's possible no matter where you are in the journey currently to really start implementing 4.0. So let's come back to the question with the virtual sensor I already wanted to ask to Peter. There have been a lot of virtual sensors implemented in paper industry already quite some time ago, also from Voith. And so the question is really, what's the benefit now of the cooperation with BTG here?
Yeah, I think in general, we have brought the virtual sensors to the next level. This is now the third generation of virtual sensors that we have built over time. But let me start the explanation with another part of the portfolio, with our QCS, a very traditional product that we have. And it shows also the unique offering space that we jointly have. So we are not only an IT company, we are not only a machinery company, we really combine a lot of elements, and this is an additional added value. So in the old times, there were only the physical measurements available in the scanners, like you can see here, and this little icon on the top should already display that there is now a new way to make it, the virtual sensors, and for this we take other data sources, we bring it into statistical models, physical models, where we have totally new approaches as well developed in the last 3 years. And then we use it for visualization and for advanced control. And now, even beyond that, what we could develop on our end with Voith, or that BTG could develop on their own, we combine it with much more, or we enrich it with much more data that is now available, like a morphology sensor from the BTG side, or information about creeping, if we now think creeping about the tissue system again. And it's not only the sensors, it's also the domain expertise, the subject matter expertise that the colleagues from BTG bring on board, help us to even improve the systems.
So thanks for this example. I think it really shows that it makes sense to combine additional sensors to increase the quality of virtual sensors even further. Yeah. Also, it's to say you not always need them. You can reach quite good virtual sensors already without it, but we really step to the next level here if we include that as well. Then do you probably have another example where 1 + 1 gives 3 if we combine the traditional Voith and BTG portfolio?
Sure. We have some more details about the morphology and combined with the mathematical techniques of the virtual sensors. So the virtual sensor modeling, it's a statistical-based model, and to correct it periodically, we previously would depend on a lab measurement that's maybe coming once an hour, once every 2 hours, to give knowledge of the physical properties of the paper sheet. Now with our single-point morphology instrument, we can look at the properties of the individual fibers flowing to the machine and feed that information into the virtual sensor. So if you can imagine being able to see in real time the fibrillation of the fiber length, width, curl, and everything you want to know about the fiber, that's a really big enhancement to our ability to predict the paper properties. And with our single point focus, we get updates on this morphology information 10 to 15 times an hour. So really fast feedback that gives us a great prediction of the paper properties.
And then finally, then it's about the traditional on efficiency or advanced process control principle, right? We need to measure the variations in the beginning. We need to visualize them. That's what we have seen. We stabilize them. And then we have the freedom with our multivariable controls to optimize them related to costs, output, whatever the desire is to really make most out of it. And I think you have prepared another good case study from a customer then, yeah. It's the Fabriano case where we have saved with on efficiency strengths, really again a lot of money, and where we have the statement from the customer that this payback time is below 1 year. Yeah.
So thanks. That's again really nice examples. So if a customer is still hesitant to go to closed loop, because all what we've seen here, we really go into closed loop and kind of take the control away from the operator, and not everybody is ready to do that yet. So if the customer is still hesitant, what other apps or services would be a good step into 4.0? Perhaps Dan, you have something?
Sure. I think loop performance monitoring and tuning is a great first step. And with the cloud capabilities coming from Voith with Cumulus, combined with Control Suite, it makes it very easy to take this step in digitalization, because all of the computing and data historization occurs on the cloud. So it's very easy to turn on this service and start reaping the benefit from it. All of that can be hosted by Voith and BTG. And so the idea is starting at the foundation of automation, making sure that the foundation is solid and working well. That immediately leads to benefit. We go to the next slide. So we can do this on a single machine. We can do it across a mill. We can provide this sort of loop monitoring and tuning service across an enterprise. And it's all enabled either on the corporate network or through the Cumulus cloud service. And what you see here is an example of several production sites. And the heat map, you can see the performance of every loop at a site. And then one level up, you can see the performance of process areas within the entire enterprise. And then through clicking and drilling down, you're able to access into data about individual loops. So through this cloud interface, you see all the way from a single loop to literally every loop within an organization, and it could be hundreds of sites and hundreds of thousands of loops even. We have customers with implementations of over 100,000 loops. It's very easy with the cloud these days to get going on these sorts of applications.
I think this example that you're showing, oh, sorry, you have another slide for that.
Yeah, so benefits, then. Yeah,
so at one particular site, we did an initial loop scan, and only 28% of the loops were operating really well. We increased through analysis and some tuning to go from 28 to 38% well-functioning loops. That gave a 40 ton per day additional production through stabilization. Continuing to whittle away at the list of poor performing loops, we got up to 88% loop health, and that gave 100 ton per day additional production, all through variability reduction. So the benefits are really there.
I think this is really a good example of how you can start small but already get a lot of benefits out. And it fits very well to a question that I got from the auditorium. It says, what can you do to take away the fear of the employees towards digitization? Because if you ask colleagues, they mostly express that they are afraid that they will be obsolete, that the algorithms will take over and they hand over their knowledge to the AI and they are not needed anymore. How would you answer that?
Well, it's my experience that people aren't sitting around waiting for work to do. Their days are completely full. And so in this loop performance example, what we're doing is feeding information about specific problems plus information how to fix the problem. And so instead of being at the site and having to search for the problems or waiting till someone phones you and complains about it, you can take action more directly and more quickly. So it makes your day more efficient, helps you be more efficient and provide more value to your organization.
Peter, you want to add something on that?
I think that's good, but it's clear that these algorithms will not replace the people. Maybe they get different stuff to do. Maybe they get higher skilled things that they should do. Maintenance topics anyhow need to be done. And then maybe they can take care also of different mills at the same time. I think to have another level of understanding of it. Yeah.
I think this some sessions before Marco Ilipietile from Stora Enso made a nice case here also that with all of this digitalization, you get more location independent, and that makes it easier also to get experts or makes it more interesting for experts to work across locations. So I think this is also really a good point here. I have another question that is specifically to the loop tuning here. Do you see different patterns of loops in the data in different places?
Different places within a mill, do you think?
Meaning locations or also different regions like Americas and Europe. Is this different depending on, I don't know, what?
No, there's a wide variety of problems that we encounter, and the performance across sites, it's a distribution. So some sites are better than others. We've never been at a location where there wasn't an opportunity to improve.
But you couldn't say that typically in US it looks different than in Europe or in China.
Well, since I'm coming from the US, I'd say, of course, it's better here.
I'm sure you just didn't have enough implications in Germany yet to realize it's better here. Okay, let's have another question from the audience. Keyword access to data. How easy is it to access customer data in relation to cloud applications, etc.? So I'm not completely sure. I think perhaps, Rosario, you can say something to that question. Additionally, do you mean to access the data in the cloud if you already have it in the cloud?
No, how easy the customer is willing to give you the data.
But we don't
hear him. You don't hear me?
Maybe we try to answer as we understand it. So for sure we have cloud applications already and then presented it. And the data is available and we can make use out of it on a single mill level, but also on a corporate level. If the data is related to cybersecurity, which could be another aspect of that question, I hope that you heard the pre-speech of T. Lorenz, our digital security advisor, that has an own presentation before, that there's a huge variety of measures and things in place to keep the security as high as possible.
Yeah, and if it's related to just getting access to data, we have a long history of collecting data from really any data source you can imagine, starting back in the 1980s when it was really difficult. So the data can be pulled from databases, spreadsheets, files, OPC servers, analog signals, you name it. We can get access to the data and we know how to move it to a historian and up to the cloud.
Yeah, that's for sure another aspect that a lot of customers face difficulties with. We've heard that also in other speeches today, that having all the different data formats and bringing them together, if you don't know how to do it, is really a challenge. Yeah? So this is really good if you have one tool that can really access all of the different data. Another question regarding the cloud I just got is if the customer is ready to share his data if he moves it to the cloud. And a question that goes together with it that I also have is, who owns the data in the cloud? So perhaps you can answer these questions.
The ownership of the data is always clear with the customer, and in the contract that we have, it's always clearly agreed with the customer for what the data can be used, and it is always basically connected to the use case of the customer. And we have, as I said, we have the security the division within Voith that takes care about the security measures. That we have the highest security standards as possible, and the data ownership is always very clear. It's stated in the contract. It's with the customers.
So how ready are customers to share it? Is it problems sometimes, or are they hesitant? What is your experience?
I think it's still different. I think the picture is different than some years ago. I know my very first discussions about clouds with customers, and I still have to smile a little bit because they were a little bit not the friendliest way, but it changed a lot. I think the customers as well as Voith changed a lot over the years in the openness for new technologies, and I think that's the way forward.
I'm just scrolling. Thank you. I'm just scrolling through the question. It also asks, how do we integrate domain knowledge into the software, or especially also from the customer? Are we doing that? Are we working together with the customer to get his knowledge into our systems?
For sure, the customer is always important inside the projects to also define, for example, the boundary conditions for controls, because he understands best what quality he has to produce and how to influence it. And the same we do with our subject matter expertise. And beyond that, as said, we have purely statistical models as well that help us to achieve what we want to achieve.
Yeah, and our goal is to work in collaboration with our customers, so it's always a team approach.
Yeah, because a lot of the knowledge is probably still mill specific. Yeah, we also, Voith and BTG has a lot of process knowledge. A lot is really with the mill people, and all of the solutions you have shown is really specifically tailored to a customer. Always, it's not it's not a plug and play product. You always need to adapt it to the customer. It's more of a tool set that makes it very easy and quick, but you always need to work together with the customer. Looking at the time, I think we just have time for a final question, and I'd like to take one for the business aspect. What is the typical payback of a project you presented, like an on efficiency or also a loop scanning? Can you give a rough figure? Then perhaps you can give one for your area.
We're always going for less than a year payout. That's a threshold that we hear from all of our customers. So if it's not less than a year, it's not a project.
And we can calculate the ROI in the most of the cases when we have the data upfront. But there's also no risk for the customer. We can predict the ROI. That's it.
And to my knowledge, then you most of the time do performance contracts, so very often, and we also do it in many areas. So then it's really no risk for a customer at all. Then basically the payback is from the first day, right? If
that's right.
Just paid out of the savings.
Yes.
So with that, I'd like to thank you, Peter and Dan, for these interesting insights. I hope it was also interesting for all of you. If you didn't manage to come through with your questions, then please just contact us directly, either in talk or via email or whatever channel you want to use. And we're, of course, happy to answer any questions that might still be open.
Thank you, Maria.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Maria. Thank you for your interesting panel discussion. It was very good to see what chances in the digitalization is for our industry, and very impressive. Thank you very much.